Welcome back to the Real Estate 401k show where we are back. It's been a hot minute.
Mm-hmm.
And hot is the operative word. I'm your host, Mike Weinstein, alongside Justin Frederick and Ryan Gerdes at the end of the table. You're just going to want to text the word expensive to 623-AZ-RECON. That's expensive to 623-AZ-RECON. I thought we'd have a little bit of fun today. I looked up the most expensive home for sale in Maricopa County, and I gave you guys the answer. I should have just asked before.
You should have. That would have been fun.
Yeah.
And then handed us these.
Yeah. But anyway, so the most expensive home in Maricopa County is located in Paradise Valley. It is a 6-bedroom, 9-bathroom home, approximately 16,906 square feet, listed at just a meager $50 million.
Pocket change.
I remember when the first $1 million homes went on the market years ago. We'd never seen this. Now we're at $50 million. So my biggest question is how many of these 9 bathrooms could you use in one day?
Depends how much I'm drinking.
That's the question that you came up with?
Not do you have $50 million.
Right.
Justin, how much of a down payment would I need? What kind of loan program would you set me up with in order to could I qualify for a $50 million home?
Well, first of all, majority of our maximum loan limits are about $5 million.
So I just need 10 loans.
You could get an exception on something like this, but you'd probably have to put down like 50%, which is wild. Mm-hmm. But you'd probably have to put down a massive down payment on this, and yeah. I don't think a DSCR is going to cover this one, though.
No, there's not a whole lot of data that's going to
How about a bank statement loan?
Yeah.
How about a P&L loan that you write up on your own?
I'm over here wondering how many housekeepers would you need full time before this place goes to shambles?
7. I mean, you got to have some maintenance. You got to have a maintenance crew. They got to have their own little office, right?
Yeah.
17,000 square feet. I mean, your grounds are 3 acres.
3 acres, and you have a guest house.
Right. A lot of bathrooms to clean there.
Well, what I love most about it, because I don't even know what it means, and in full disclosure, I didn't go through all the pictures, but this is South African architecture themed.
I don't know if I know what that is.
I'm certain I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. Call Elon. I don't know. I mean, it would be fun to do one of those big, huge broker opens over there and just see what $50 million gets you. Because this is a brand new build. And I mean, it's got it's clearly one of a kind. And we've had some pretty luxury properties come on and off the market. And particularly because this one's in Paradise Valley, and that's where you would expect to see if a $50 million listing came up, you would expect to see it in Paradise Valley, right? And so there's some pretty impressive real estate over there. I'd like to see where they're coming up with the value of $50 million.
See, I don't even know who buys this. I feel like $50 million would not be a Hollywood star. I mean, it would have to be a really, really elite Hollywood star. Not sure why they would pick Paradise Valley. This is going to be above most athletes, whether it's the Phoenix Suns or the Diamondbacks or whatever the case is. So I'm not even sure who we're talking to right now.
Well, I mean, we have a lot of tech that's moving in, so it'd be a CEO or owner of one of these massive corporations that are moving their headquarters here. Zuckerberg could, with that Meta factory going on over in Chandler.
All right, Mark, if you're listening, go ahead and text Facebook to 623-AZ-RECON, and we'll show it to you. We'll show it to anyone.
Bezos has a lot of Amazon going on here, so he might take a.
I feel like this is below their pay grade, though.
Maybe I don't know.
But you could have the most expensive house in Maricopa County.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's who's buying this, or owners of some of these professional athlete teams. That's I don't know.
Why don't we set up a time, the three of us, and go see it? I mean, like,
I'm sure they're going to want to see like bank statements,
Proof
or
of funds.
proof of funds, or something.
Well, you can hook us up with some documentation, Justin. This is why I brought you into the conversation here.
Yeah.
Let me
Fairway's
get my
got
PDF creator out.
Yeah, Fairway's got a few $1 billion in their fund, don't they?
All right. Well, if you by any chance are in the market for a $50 million home or any type of luxury home, man, we could put this. I would love to negotiate this one. This would be an incredible experience and a lot of fun to do. And if you are interested in a $50 million home, go ahead and text the word expensive to 623-AZ-RECON. That's expensive to 623-AZ-RECON. But what we really wanted to talk about today, you guys are very negative human beings. I'm more of the positive. So I came across this article, and if you want to get your hands on this article, you can text the word expensive to 623-AZ-RECON. What?
I thought we were going to do this on a different episode.
No, we're not.
Okay.
We were combining.
Oh.
Oh, no, you're right. You're
Yeah,
right.
I'm
Never
right.
mind. So we're not doing that. Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
stay
yeah.
tuned for Wednesday if you
Good
want to
thing you
know.
briefed me on that.
If you want to know the 11 types of homes that are going to plummet in states like Arizona, we're going to talk about that Wednesday. But we spent a lot of time just talking about competition for buyers out there, and I'm just finding there. We work with a lot of buyers, people that reach out to us. They understand the game, they understand the opportunity out there, and they're not getting intimidated by what's going on, not only in the nation but around the world. But we've seen a lot of people hold back right now due to interest rates, what's going to be the impact on tariffs, and now what's going to be the impact of the big, beautiful bill that was just signed by the president on the 4th of July. And so a lot of people are just hanging back. And we always maintain the more people, the more buyers that hang back presents bigger opportunities for buyers. And I came across this statistic. So basically this time last year, inside the MLS, there were 7,189 pending contracts, which is about right. It's a big, healthy number. Mm-hmm. Currently, right now, when I pulled this report, pending inside the Arizona Regional MLS, there's 3,585. So almost half the number, Ryan, which means if you're buying, you want the least amount of competition. When I go, back to this $50 million house, I'm still heavily invested in the Powerball. And I'm not even sure if the current jackpot's going to cover this $50 million house. But
you might be a redneck, yeah.
Right. But I want the least amount of people buying Powerball tickets when I'm up and when I'm competing in tournaments, and the least amount of people I'm competing against, the better the odds for me. And I maintain for buyers, this is a prime market.
So I'm also interested to see, because I'm sure it's on there because I know who generated that report. What's the absorption rate?
The absorption rate right now is absorption rate is 16.3% 25% currently, and last year this time it was 35%.
Yeah. So. If you don't know what the absorption rate is, it is essentially how fast
Did
inventory.
You see how I had those numbers ready to go, buddy?
You did.
There you go.
Yeah. He tried to stump me there.
No, I knew it was on there because that's Todd always puts it on there. The absorption rate is how fast or how much inventory gets eaten up in a certain market, and so the higher the absorption rate, the closer it is to a buyer's market, and the closer it is to a seller's market. I'm sorry. Got it mixed
Opposite,
up.
yeah.
Mixed up. So the higher it is, the more of a seller's market it is. Buyer's market, and then the lower is seller's. So sorry. That being said, we've been talking for weeks now about how we've been moving closer and closer to a more established seller's market. And so when we're dealing with competition, you're going to see different. We've also talked about it as far as areas here. You're going to see some areas that are going to have significantly less or significantly higher absorption rate because the numbers on there are important as far as what's happening, like under the big umbrella. But really all that matters is, are people transacting, right? And what is not on there is how much inventory has been eaten up with new home builds. And I've been
Yeah.
talking a lot with these new home builders, and they're only putting about 25% of their inventory on the MLS, and that's inventory homes, not new builds. And we've been seeing a lot of these builders that were doing spec homes only move over to spec and ground up builds, and they're starting to give significant concessions that allow buyers to say, hey, look, it might make just as much sense or more sense to build exactly what I want. So not to get too far away from the topic that you're trying to discuss here, Mike, but the competition element is, if you are looking for a resale home in an area that is not rich with new home builds, then be bearish. And it's more important now than ever, if you're a buyer, to not be emotional. When we were dealing with a crazy seller's market, you basically had to take whatever was thrown at you, and then pay 20, 30, however much above list price just to get awarded the contract. Now you get to
Take it back.
yeah. Now it's your turn.
Well, to your point, if for just talking about new builds, if 25% of new builds is on the MLS, as of when I pulled this report, there was 2,565 new builds on the MLS, which means there's about 10. To your point, there's about 10,000 new builds available. Most of those, that 7,500, most of those are going to be ground up. You go in and you pick dirt. So there's a lot of available opportunities out there for buyers.
Right, and there's no question we have a surplus in inventory, and the reason why they've been getting the lion's share of the business is because they've had all those forward commitments, and they're pushing a lot of those inventory homes. But when they're throwing $30,000, $40,000, $60,000 towards buy downs on interest rates, it's hard to ignore. And that's something that, Justin, you've been able to combat a lot too.
The best we can.
Right.
I mean, new builds are kind of creating this market because of what they're giving. I mean, the incentives to go there, a lot of people are like, why wouldn't I go get a lower interest rate? So eventually it's going to counter it, the market is, but sellers got to be more realistic and walk away from what they think is what their home is worth. They got to give up some money there, and I think I think a lot of people have done it. We've seen it across the board. We've seen a lot of good deals flowing in. You guys have written some excellent and incredible deals, and then along with the concessions, there's just all kinds of opportunities out there, and you just got to know how to talk to people and negotiate with them.
So what happens when these new home builders oversaturate the market?
So you're going to see more and more listings come up, and now it really depends on what they're offering. But as they're doing these forward commitments, and they have the ability to buy these rates down to 3.99, rates are everything. So I don't care if you're getting $350,000 resale, but you're buying a $400,000 new build, and the new build's at a 3.99, and your resale's at a 6.6. Your payment's going to be lower, and ultimately you're going to pay less for the $400,000 home at a 3.99. So these new builds I feel like they don't understand. Well, maybe they do. They're just trying to take as much money as they can right now, but they're hurting the market. They're putting more homes on the market, which is, there's a good chance that because of all these deals that are available, we may see some values drop here, just like one of the articles that we're going to get on another episode. Little teaser. But I definitely think that we're going to see values drop on resales more because they're just competing with new builds until that levels out on where my monthly payment is more equivalent, and I understand I'm getting a backyard, and I understand I'm getting a pool. Until that value means something to somebody compared to this interest rate on a new build, we're going to see more and more homes on the market.
So how does the banking industry reform to that? Because
that's a hard thing because we don't dictate interest rates. And while forward commitments are available, I 100% love that new builds have figured this out and have pushed this, because we're always looking for our ways to do business, right? And win more business, and they've figured it out. But I think that eventually maybe you may see investors realize what new builds are pulling off here. And I feel like investors may pull back from offering forward commitments as deep as they are on new builds to give resales an opportunity to compete in order to keep a balanced market between resales and new builds. But I mean, you can see the writing on the wall. You get all these people that get pre-qualified with us. They're happy. They're going out and looking at resales, and the moment they walk into a new build, it's crazy how fast they're under contract because they're seeing the difference in the monthly payments.
All right, if you'd like some more information on our strategies on how to take advantage of this buyer's market, we want you to go ahead and text the word expensive to 623 AZ Recon, or just go ahead and type in the word expensive in the comments section.
I got one more.
Okay.
So I think we are kind of combating it too by we've seen some of these products increase the amount of seller concessions that they're allowing. So for instance, on some of our DSCRs and some of our bank statement loans, we used to only allow for a maximum of 2% seller concessions on those types of loans, even for investors or even for primary home buyers. And now we're seeing those go up to
really?
5% in some cases.
That's huge.
6%. So they're allowing sellers to do that. And as you get agents or wealth managers like yourselves that are able to negotiate stuff like this out of purchase price and concessions, knowing that interest rates are everything, well, then rather than dropping the price, get those concessions so that we can do those types of loans with lower interest rates. Also, ARMs have started coming back around significantly, and we're seeing those in investment property avenues, and then also in primary home mortgages with FHA and VA. They're really making a push on them. So I think we'll start seeing a lot of ARMs come back, and then prepayment penalties are coming. Their faces are coming out again, and longer prepayment penalty you take, the lower the rate. You know, this is not something I'm really a fan of, but you know, some people. If you got 6% concessions and you got a 5-year prepayment penalty, you're able to pull off a 5.5 interest rate. I'm just throwing numbers out. It might make sense. It might make sense. So,
do you think that there'll ever come a time where like local banking will start looking towards offshore funds?
I don't see it out of the picture. We've seen a lot of stuff happen in the last 12 months that's just out of the ordinary, kind of going in between regulation and 2008 again, just to try to have a regulated loan that will allow some of this creative financing and again, just compete. Mm-hmm. So I don't see our private investors not trying to do something like that, especially if it's the right price.
Right, because if they can borrow from Switzerland at 2%, sell over here at 4%, with a 25% down, 30% down commitment from a buyer, then that could be a game changer, because that's essentially the same thing that what a lot of these builders are doing, but they're using in-house, either forward commitments, or they're using in-house funds to bridge it over. I mean, it seems like something that, there's a lot of money to be made there.
Yeah. And I guess for me, I'm thinking, one, would another country want to invest? And probably. Also, just thinking, as a citizen, do we want other people to have other countries to hold liens on these properties so they're actually an owner of the property? So
like China.
China.
Yeah,
but we've allowed it.
I mean, how much money do we owe China? I mean, like
$1 million.
Yeah.
All right. Well, concessions are everything. There's a lot of creativity that goes into competing in this market. I wouldn't even say competing in this market because the competition is low, but it's taking advantage of this market. So if you're a buyer looking for some incredible strategies and really how to get the most in concessions and the best price possible, go ahead and text the word expensive to 623 AZ Recon. That's expensive to 623 AZ Recon, or just type the word expensive in the comments section.